What if I told you that the greatest threat to your kidneys isn't always something you eat or drink, but sometimes something you quietly stop doing, something so common, so normalized, that most people never question it, until the damage is already done? I'm Dr. William Collins, and after years of working with patients facing kidney disease, I've learned something that still unsettles me. Many of the people sitting in front of me never saw it coming. They didn't feel pain. They didn't receive a warning, and by the time symptoms appeared, the damage was already advanced. That's the nature of the kidneys. They are silent, incredibly resilient, and dangerously easy to overlook. Think of your kidneys as the most sophisticated filtration system you could ever imagine, working nonstop every minute of your life. They clean your blood, regulate your blood pressure, help produce red blood cells, and even support your bone health. They are not just another organ, they are a foundation. And yet, when they begin to struggle, they don't raise an alarm. They whisper, and most people never hear it. Before diving in, I'd love to know where you're tuning in from. Leave a comment and feel free to ask questions. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell so you never miss the best health advice from our channel. Together, let's build a healthier, stronger tomorrow. Over time, especially after 50 or 60, your kidneys naturally lose some of their efficiency. It's not failure, it's aging. Like a car that has traveled thousands of miles, it still runs, but it needs better care, better conditions, and fewer unnecessary burdens. Now imagine taking that same high-mileage engine and feeding it poor quality fuel every single day, pushing it uphill without rest. Eventually, it breaks down. Not suddenly, but gradually, quietly. That's exactly what happens to many people. Years of small, seemingly harmless habits begin to accumulate. Tiny amounts of stress, small metabolic imbalances, slight increases in blood pressure or blood sugar, and over decades, those small things become the difference between healthy kidneys and chronic disease. And here's where it becomes even more important to pay attention. Conditions like high blood pressure and type 2 diabetes are not just common with age, they are the leading causes of kidney damage worldwide. They act like constant pressure on a delicate system, day after day, without pause. So today, I want to do something very simple but very powerful. I want to help you recognize the hidden threats that most people ignore, not with complicated medical language, but in a way that actually makes sense. Because once you understand what's happening, you can change it. Let's begin with something that surprises almost everyone. Not something you eat, not something you drink, something you stop doing. Sedentary behavior. Spending long hours sitting, whether it's watching television, using your phone, or simply resting for extended periods, might seem harmless. After all, it feels like rest. It feels like you're not doing damage. But inside your body, something very different is happening. Your kidneys depend on strong, consistent blood flow. They rely on circulation to filter your blood efficiently. Now imagine that circulation as a river. When the river flows with strength, everything moves, everything stays clean, everything functions the way it should. But when the water becomes stagnant, things begin to accumulate. Waste builds up. The environment becomes toxic. That's what prolonged sitting does to your body. When you stay still for too long, your circulation slows down. Your heart doesn't need to pump as strongly. Blood flow becomes less dynamic. And over time, this creates the perfect conditions for problems to develop. Your body becomes less efficient at handling blood sugar, increasing the risk of insulin resistance. Weight gain becomes more likely. Blood pressure begins to rise. And all of these factors, every single one, place additional stress on your kidneys. It's not dramatic, it's not immediate, but it is consistent, and consistency is what causes long-term damage. Now, here's the part that I want you to really understand. The solution is not extreme. You don't need intense workouts. You don't need to become an athlete. What your body needs is simply to move again. If you spend long periods sitting, start by interrupting that pattern. Stand up every hour, walk a few steps, stretch your arms, give your body a signal that it's still active. That alone begins to restore circulation. Then, gradually, introduce something even more powerful, a daily walk. It doesn't need to be long. 10 minutes is enough to begin. Then 15, then maybe 20. What matters is not intensity, it's consistency. Walking gently activates your entire system. It supports your heart, helps regulate blood sugar, improves blood pressure, and most importantly, restores healthy blood flow to your kidneys. And if walking is difficult for you, there are still options. Simple seated movements, lifting your legs, rotating your ankles, moving your arms, can still make a difference. Because the goal is not perfection. The goal is movement. Every time you move, you are restoring that river. You are allowing your body to circulate, to clean, to function the way it was designed to. And that is one of the simplest, most overlooked ways to protect your kidneys. This is just the beginning. Because what comes next, the things we eat, the habits we repeat every single day, can be even more damaging and far more hidden than most people realize. As we continue, I want you to notice something important. None of these threats look dangerous on the surface. In fact, most of them feel normal, routine, even helpful. And that's exactly why they're so powerful. Let's move to the next one. Poison number 3 is something almost everyone has within arm's reach. It's in your drawer, your bag, your nightstand, and most people take it without a second thought. I'm talking about common painkillers, specifically what we call non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. You know them by familiar names: ibuprofen, naproxen, or diclofenac. These medications are incredibly effective. They reduce pain, inflammation, and discomfort quickly. And because many of them are available without a prescription, people assume they are harmless. But that assumption is where the danger begins. Let me explain this in a way that truly makes sense. Your kidneys rely on a constant, healthy blood flow to function. To maintain that flow, your body produces substances called prostaglandins. Think of them as tiny helpers that keep the blood vessels inside your kidneys open and relaxed, allowing oxygen and nutrients to reach every filter. Here's the problem. These painkillers work by blocking prostaglandins to reduce inflammation and pain, but they don't target only the painful area. They block prostaglandins everywhere, including the ones protecting your kidneys. So what happens? The small blood vessels inside your kidneys begin to tighten. Blood flow decreases. Oxygen supply drops. And over time, the filters inside your kidneys begin to suffer. It's like placing your foot on a garden hose that's watering a plant. The water slows down, then stops, and the plant begins to wither. Now imagine doing that not once, but every single day. That's what chronic use of these medications can do. Many people with ongoing pain, like arthritis, fall into this pattern. A pill today, another tomorrow, then every day. And slowly, silently, the kidneys begin to scar. The damage builds over time, without symptoms, without warning, until one day it becomes visible and often irreversible. So what's the right approach? The goal is not to ignore pain. Pain matters, your quality of life matters, but the key is to respect both the pain and the medication. If pain lasts more than a few days, the answer is not to keep suppressing it indefinitely. The answer is to understand why it's there. That's where a proper medical evaluation becomes essential. Be honest with your doctor about everything you take, not just prescriptions, but over-the-counter products, supplements, even cold or sleep medications. Many of them contain hidden ingredients from this same group. For occasional pain, there are safer options when used correctly, such as paracetamol. And beyond pills, don't underestimate simple strategies like physical therapy, stretching, heat, or cold. These can reduce your dependence on medication more than you might expect. The rule is simple. These drugs are powerful tools. Used occasionally, they can help. Used daily without guidance, they can quietly harm. Now let's move to something even more deceptive, poison number 2. And this one is not hidden in your medicine cabinet. It's sitting on your table and inside almost everything you eat. Salt, or more precisely, sodium. Most people tell me the same thing. Doctor, I don't add much salt to my food. And I believe them. Because the real problem isn't the salt shaker, it's everything else. The majority of the sodium we consume, more than 70%, comes from processed and packaged foods. Bread, cheeses, deli meats, canned soups, sauces, frozen meals, even foods that don't taste particularly salty. Sodium is used to preserve food and enhance flavor, and because it's everywhere, it becomes invisible. Now, here's what happens inside your body when sodium intake is too high. Your body tries to maintain balance. To dilute the excess sodium, it holds onto water. That increases the volume of fluid in your bloodstream. And as that volume rises, so does the pressure inside your arteries. That's high blood pressure, and high blood pressure is one of the leading causes of kidney damage worldwide. Your kidneys are made up of millions of tiny, delicate filtering units. Imagine trying to clean a fragile fabric using a high-pressure hose. At first, it might seem effective, but over time, the force begins to tear and damage the material. That's exactly what elevated blood pressure does inside your kidneys. Day after day, it places stress on those delicate filters, causing damage, scarring, and gradual loss of function. So how do you protect yourself? It starts with awareness. Become someone who reads labels. Turn the package around and look for sodium content. You'll be surprised where it hides, sometimes in foods you would never suspect. A general recommendation is to stay below 2,300 milligrams per day. And if you already have high blood pressure, aiming closer to 1,500 can make a meaningful difference. Cooking at home is one of the most powerful changes you can make. It gives you full control over what goes into your food. And here's something many people rediscover when they reduce sodium: real flavor. Garlic, onion, herbs, spices, lemon, vinegar, these are not substitutes. They are upgrades. They bring depth, complexity, and satisfaction without placing stress on your body. Even simple habits, like rinsing canned foods, can significantly reduce sodium content. And over time, something interesting happens. Your taste buds adapt. Food begins to taste different, cleaner, more natural, more satisfying. And that's when you realize you're not losing flavor. You're regaining it. Now, we've covered inactivity, painkillers, and sodium. Each one powerful, each one common. But what comes next is in a category of its own, because this final one doesn't just affect your kidneys. It reshapes your entire metabolism, and it's something millions of people consume every single day, without ever questioning it. And now we arrive at what I consider the most important part of this entire conversation. Because while everything we've discussed so far matters, what I'm about to explain next has a deeper, broader, and far more destructive impact on your body, especially your kidneys. Poison number 1, not a rare chemical, not something exotic, something familiar, something comforting, something most people associate with pleasure, celebration, even love. Sugar, and its constant companion, refined flour. This includes desserts, soft drinks, pastries, but also white bread, pasta, cookies, and many foods people don't even consider sweet. And in my experience, this combination is the driving force behind one of the most devastating conditions I see every single day: type 2 diabetes. I want to be very clear with you, not dramatic, just honest. This isn't a single attack on your kidneys. It's a coordinated assault happening on multiple fronts at the same time. Let's walk through it in a way that truly makes sense. First, the direct path to diabetes. When you consume sugar or refined flour, your body rapidly converts it into glucose. This causes a sharp spike in blood sugar. In response, your pancreas releases insulin to bring that sugar down. But when this happens over and over again, day after day, your cells begin to resist insulin. They stop responding the way they should, and as a result, sugar remains circulating in your bloodstream. That's how type 2 diabetes develops. And once blood sugar stays elevated, the damage begins. Inside your kidneys are millions of microscopic filters. These filters are delicate, precise, and incredibly efficient until they're exposed to constant high sugar levels. Over time, glucose begins to damage and stiffen these filters. They lose flexibility, they scar, they stop working properly. This process is known as diabetic nephropathy, and it is one of the fastest paths toward kidney failure. Now, the second front, blood pressure. For years, salt was considered the main culprit. And while sodium does play a role, we now understand that excessive sugar can be just as harmful, sometimes even more. A high sugar diet contributes to elevated blood pressure, meaning that even if someone reduces salt, the damage can continue silently through another pathway. Third, inflammation. Sugar doesn't just affect blood levels, it affects the entire internal environment of your body. It promotes a state of chronic, low-grade inflammation that slowly damages blood vessels, including the tiny ones inside your kidneys. You don't feel it, you don't see it, but it's happening. And finally, the fourth front, metabolic overload. Excess sugar that your body doesn't immediately use gets stored as fat. Over time, this contributes to weight gain, obesity, and conditions like fatty liver disease. These changes disrupt your metabolism and further increase the strain on your kidneys. So when I say this is poison number one, it's not an exaggeration. It's the cumulative effect of all these pathways working together. Now here's the part that matters most. You are not powerless against this. In fact, this is one of the areas where small, consistent changes can create the biggest impact. It begins with awareness. Sugar hides behind many names: high fructose corn syrup, dextrose, sucrose, maltose. Different labels, same effect. Learning to recognize them is your first line of defense. Next, eliminate the most aggressive sources. Sugary drinks, soft drinks, industrial juices, sweetened teas are one of the fastest ways to overload your system. They deliver large amounts of sugar in seconds without any real satiety. Replacing them with water, sparkling water with lemon, or herbal infusions is one of the most powerful decisions you can make. It's simple, but transformative. Be cautious with low-fat products. Many of them compensate for reduced fat by adding sugar to maintain flavor. Instead, choose natural whole versions, plain yogurt instead of flavored, real food instead of processed alternatives. And when it comes to carbohydrates, shift your focus. Move away from refined flour and toward whole foods, whole grains, vegetables, legumes, nuts, quality proteins, foods that your body recognizes, foods that provide fiber, slowing down sugar absorption and stabilizing your system. Because when your diet is built around real food, something interesting happens. Sugar begins to disappear on its own, not through restriction, but through replacement. Now, let's step back for a moment. What have we uncovered today? 4 silent threats. 1. Sedentary behavior, quietly slowing your circulation. 2. Common painkillers, restricting blood flow to your kidneys. 3. Hidden sodium, increasing pressure inside your arteries. And 4. The most powerful of all, sugar and refined flour attacking your body from every direction. If this feels overwhelming, that's completely normal. But this is not about fear. This is about clarity. Because once you see it, you can change it. Kidney disease is not inevitable. It's not something that simply happens with age. In many cases, it's the result of patterns that can be adjusted step by step. You don't need to change everything today. Just one decision. Stand up and move. Choose water instead of soda. Read a label before buying. Ask a question before taking a pill. Small actions, repeated consistently, create powerful results. Every walk you take, every meal you prepare at home, every conscious choice. They are all investments in your future. And before we finish, I want to ask you something simple. If this message made you pause, if something you heard today surprised you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who matters to you. A partner, a parent, a friend, because information like this can truly change lives. And if you want to continue learning how to protect your health in a clear, practical way, consider subscribing and turning on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. Now, I'd really like to hear from you. What was the most surprising thing you learned today? Was there something you didn't know? Something you're ready to change? Leave it in the comments. I read them, and they help guide everything I share here. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking this time for yourself. Your kidneys work for you every second of your life. Take care of them. Take care of your life. I'm Dr. William Collins, and I'll see you in the next one.